Hello one and all, and welcome to Behind the Glass. I'm your host, Sam, from the YouTube channel Seen Through Glass.
And I'm Tony from Gravelwood Car Sales.
Yes, you are. Each week we get together, we talk about cars, motorsport, F1, what else? Cars? We talk about cars. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch us on youtube.com/Behind the Glass. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And Tony, if people want to support this podcast, what should they do?
Watch it.
No. But also head to Patreon. You can support us on patreon.com/Behind the Glass. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Now, viewers of the podcast over on YouTube, we're here at Gravelwood Car Sales. We're at Tony's business today.
You haven't been here for a while.
I have not been here for a while. It's very nice. We're up on your sort of balcony that
Mezzanine, mate. Mezzanine, please.
Mezzanine, how fancy. It's like in Grand Designs. Overlooking some of your stock. It's lovely. Jackson's been locked away. If you missed last week's episode.
He was down there just now.
Oh, was he?
He just walks off.
Causing chaos.
Yeah.
Jackson is Tony's new dog, new puppy, German Shepherd, adorable. Won't be making an appearance today because he's, as I say, been banished to some.
He's getting big, isn't he?
Oh my God, he's getting huge. 1 week. I mean, Twiggy, I think, gets smaller week by week.
No.
Jackson is about 4 times the size that he was last week. But we are here for multiple reasons. Lots of things to update you on. I keep saying this over on the main channel. I'm like, there's so much to update you on. But there is, and I just don't have time to do it all. I'm going to try and get through a lot of it today. But the main reason I'm here right now is because I got a busy week and I happen to be just down the road from you today.
So we was messaging each other and he said, dude, can you get to Brentford a little bit later? Yeah, no problem. What sort of time? Well, sort of 4:30. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to Furlongers down the coast. Actually not too far from you and I won't be back till late. Well, why don't you just come here then? Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm going to drive straight past you, so I'll just let you know when I'm coming past your door. But I was hesitant to do so because I don't know about you, but I've really grown fond of our studio. Over the last 2 years of this podcast, we've got used to doing the podcast in the studio. It's been a while since we've relocated the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's something we're potentially going to be doing more of.
Boy.
I teased in one of the main channel videos recently that the way I'm utilizing STGHQ is changing, is evolving. I'm actually using it less. And I think over time, I may even be stepping away from STGHQ. And we are putting plans in place, that's all we're going to say, about...
We got an idea.
Where, how, what, why we're going to record the podcast moving forward. So yes, it may mean that this year you see a few different backdrops.
Lovely.
For the podcast. But anyway, today to explain it, we are here at Tony's studio. That's a big old ramble that we just did, isn't it?
Was it 4 or 5 minutes?
I mean, it's about, 5 minutes of rambling.
Brilliant.
So hello, welcome to the podcast. If you've skipped ahead, clever you. We've got a bit of things to discuss today. Actually some car news out of nowhere, who knew? But first off, we're trialing a new thing for the podcast, which is messages from our patrons. We do love our patrons and we want them to be sort of more involved with the show than ever. So we asked them off the back of last week to send in some video messages. I don't really know what to expect.
Oh, no, you haven't listened to them?
Nope.
Oh, no.
But we have some video messages. So should we just dive into them and see what...
Well, I hope there's no swearing.
There could be.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so kicking things off, we've got Matt Pickford.
Hi Sam and Tony. So I like all my cars to be blue. Does that make me a bit weird?
Yes.
Or have you got other viewers who buy all their cars in the same colour?
Does it make you weird? You might have missed. Tony said yes under his breath. It's very Shmee 150 circa 2016 with Below Crew, which Paul and I were jealous of, so we made Red Crew of our 2 cars compared to Tim's 15. Matt, I don't think this is weird at all. I've always said if I had a collection of cars, if I was one of those people with multiple cars, I'd actually like them all in the same spec.
Where have you got that idea from? Chris Evans, the DJ?
No, but see, I think he ruined all of his Ferraris.
Because he went all white, didn't he? Yeah.
Not cool.
No?
Okay, so maybe I would do it this. I would maybe have all my Ferraris resale red because I'm that guy. All my Porsches GT silver, all my Jaguars British Racing green. Like maybe I would do it like that. I don't think I'd have all of my cars the exact same colour.
Okay.
What about you? You don't really care. I don't think you're that bothered by spec.
No, I am bothered by spec. I like to try and be a little bit different.
When?
Well, I've had an orange Porsche.
When did you have an orange Porsche?
Well, the GT3, the orange one.
I don't think I knew about that, did I? Oh, sorry, no. It wasn't orange. It was red.
No, it wasn't. It was red. It was lava orange.
It was very red.
I mean, it says orange in the title.
I think quite a few people bought it in that colour. It wasn't that unique.
It wasn't, actually. They bought them in Guards red. Lava orange is very rare colour. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Was it PTS? Was it paint to sample?
No, it wasn't the thing.
Standard factory colour?
Wasn't the thing. I had a yellow GT4.
Okay, again, not that unique.
Okay, can't find one on the internet, see if you find one. I had a yellow Speciale.
Really not that unique at all.
Well, there was not many of them, so that is unique.
Your current car's a very unique spec.
Very unique spec.
I applaud you there. But I sort of think of you having like black on black cars.
Yeah, because I like black cars. I like grey cars.
So we've now got a question from Wilds.
Oh.
Hey, Sam and Tony. It's Wilds here. I have a slightly controversial take. Well, for Sam, that is, not for Tony. I think he's going to agree with me on this one, but I don't see the Lotus Emira doing very well in sales, especially over here in the United States. Their dealership network really isn't that extensive, and frankly, the Porsche 718 is the better.
Oh, he's trying to suck up to you, Tony. He's trying to suck up to
price point. Maybe in the used, when you see these used vehicles for the Emira, maybe those will sell pretty well on the secondhand market, but as a new vehicle, given the other models that are out, given the fact that the dealership network really isn't very good, I would take a 718 over the Lotus.
I have to say, a predictable shout from a behind the glass listener, picking a Cayman over anything else.
There's a reason for that, though.
Well, yeah, of course, and I understand that reason.
Why are you arguing then?
I'm not. I think the point he makes is a good one in the sense where I'm not sure the Emira will sell well in the US.
Yeah, I would agree, but I honestly don't think it will sell as well, because we had all this with the Alpine A110 thing where everyone got so excited about it and it's going to be the best car and it's going to rival the Cayman. And look what's happened to that. I mean, it's so bad, that car, they're not going to make it.
What car?
The Alpine, the A110 thing.
The Alpine A110. What do you mean they're not going to make it?
Well, they're going to stop making that car soon. They don't sell any.
Well, at first,
definitely not in this country.
I think it was journalists who went mad about that car. It
journalists that have gone mad about the Emira.
No, I think the public opinion of the Emira is greater. Look at Goodwood Festival of Speed. The stand was absolutely rammed, people placing orders left, right and centre. That never really happened with the Alpine. Journalists kept banging on about how amazing it was to drive. I'm not calling myself a journalist, but including people like me, drove, so brilliant. No one actually went and bought them. Whilst the Emira is kind of the opposite, where everyone's so excited and placing deposits and orders. That's going to be fantastic. You made a good point 6 months ago. Well, will they actually go through with that purchase? Are they placing deposits because it's an exciting upswing moment when they actually have to sort of pay the full amount? Are they still going to go through? Who knows? But I think Lotus as a brand would struggle to crack America. I did just the other day get invited to the launch or the unveiling of the Lotus SUV that's coming.
Oh,
I can't say any more.
Well, we already know what probably that'll be based on. That'll be based on a Volvo.
Well, I would assume so, but I guess we'll find out. I'm actually not going, so I won't know until they share more information with me. I can't do the white box studio filming.
You're not that.
No,
you're not. Yeah,
but very kind of them to invite me. But I was like, it's just I'll wait till there's some kind of slightly more quirky way,
something moving.
But they're hopefully going to share some information on it soon, so that we can talk about it here on the podcast. So we'll find out. But I would assume it's like an XC40 or
40 or 60.
If it's not light, it's not a Lotus, right? So they've got to go with something that. They can't turn up with a Q7 rival.
No. I would say it'd probably be a smaller, compact SUV. I would think.
Will it be electric? That's the question.
I
think it might be.
Or definitely be hybrid.
Yeah, I think it'll be electric.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally from Keith.
Hi, Sam and Tony. This is Keith in San Diego, California. I have a number of questions for
What's
you,
up, Keith?
and the first one is
Probably only
the
do one.
depreciation you think is going to happen on a brand new Ferrari Roma versus a brand new Porsche 911 Turbo S.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Turbo S will hold its money better, for sure.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, based on the current used market, Turbo S's are holding insanely strong.
They're overs,
right?
mate.
They're still overs?
And they're quite a bit over as well, 20, 30 grand over, whereas a Roma is
already under.
Already under.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing I think is as impressive and exciting as the Roma is. It is still of that place within the Ferrari market that suggests depreciation. Look at Californias and Lusos and FFs and things like that. It screams depreciation.
It just got a bigger customer base, Porsche, as well. Don't forget as well, you know. So for that market, it does more all round than the Roma as well. I think the 911.
The Turbo S's have historically held their value very well, though, haven't they? And the more people I speak to in that 992 variant, the more people just talk about how amazing it is. Keith, I think, I know, was going to go on to say that he's got both the cars on order because he sent me a message separately. Keith, if I were you, I would stick with the Turbo S. I think you're going to have many happy miles. I think you'll be very content in that car, and you'll probably see more of your money back than in the Roma.
It's more to drive. It's like more leaning towards a GT3. It's not a GT3 by any means, but it does lean towards more of a GT3 than it does the old Turbo S, essentially.
You're right, and if you're thinking of like everyday super GT type thing, the Roma is still a very traditional GT car, despite its lightness and its dynamic capabilities. It's that front engine rear wheel drive GT car. The Turbo S gives you all of the livability, comfort, practicality, but just inherently because of the layout, it feels more dialed in. It feels more supercar-y, I think.
And especially in the wet as well. It's incredible.
You loved it on your trip.
Oh, incredible in the wet, yeah.
So I've got an interesting trip coming up, which I'll tease right now, speaking about Porsches and 911s. When's this going out? So next weekend, I'm taking a bog spec, like a no options ticked 911 Carrera on a bit of a trip. I think that's a really interesting concept. So it's literally walk into a Porsche dealership, I'll have a 911 Carrera, please. Boom, I think it's 87 or 88,000 pounds.
992?
992, 911 Carrera, nothing on it. Obviously comes standard PDK these days. You have to option out a manual. Fairly well equipped in comparison to some of the previous generations. But as we know with Porsche, the minute you want to start speccing them up, the price goes through the roof.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I mean, I'm a bit out of touch, although it's what I know. I'm a little bit out of touch what they come actually standard, because I don't think I've ever seen a standard one.
No, who would ever go in and say, I just want a 911 Carrera?
Does it have heated seats? I know it will have sat-nav. Does it have a camera as standard?
No idea. We're going to find out all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Not a clue. Quite interesting. I'm quite intrigued.
Yeah.
A little bit excited.
Oh, I might watch that video. You can do a video.
Thank you for the support. But you know me, I mean, it's been a while since I've spent some time in a Porsche, and any time I spend time around a Porsche,
You want another one?
Yeah, so watch out for that text message because you know it's coming.
Oh, I know.
So earlier today, the reason that I was down in this neck of the woods and at Furlonger, and this video is coming sooner than the Porsche video, I drove an Enzo.
Oh, I've driven an Enzo.
Oh! So tell me, what did you think of the Enzo when you drove it?
Well, it's a piece of poo.
What?
No. What I mean is that compared to a modern car, it's terrible. But it's the car I'd buy, mate, probably over just about anything.
Over a laugh.
Over just about, I think.
But you still think it's a piece of poo?
Yeah, to drive, yeah.
Why?
Because, like, well, you know how I like modern stuff, and, like, I mean, the gearbox is terrible, and it makes a lovely noise, though. And you can hear all the noises on it when you're driving, and all the creaks and and that's not me normally, but because of just the car and how special it is and the whole story around it, that car I do actually get. And honestly, if I could have one car, special Ferrari, I would probably pick that over anything.
So I think saying the gearbox is crap, I understand where you're coming from, and a million people will agree with you.
Compared to a modern car, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things, and I get up on my high horse about it with the Challenge Stradale, but it's of any car from that era. At its time, it was championed as being the fastest automatic gearbox out there. It was, I think, 150 milliseconds the gear change, something like that.
It's a manual gearbox, though, with an
It's
automatic.
roboticized.
Correct.
Roboticized.
So
robotic. It's a robotic manual.
So I believe it's basically a manual gearbox with a computer that runs it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you pull the paddle, it engages neutral, does the revs, builds torque, slots into the right gear and throws you off down the road, all in 150 milliseconds.
Yeah, miles quicker than how you explained it.
But what that translates to is when you're driving and when you pull a gear, you get a real lump of torque when the next gear engages. So in terms of building speed, it's quite terrifying because you're in second gear and you're flat and you pull a gear and it goes, and you are just fired off down the road.
Yeah.
Driving it in cold or slightly greasy conditions means that's quite terrifying.
Well, it doesn't work properly when it's cold as well. So another car that's a little bit more modern that's like that is the Aventador, which is why people really like it because it gives you that, and it has got better, that gearbox obviously in the SVJ, but it's still that characteristics of it doesn't really work properly in the cold until the oils get warm, and then even when it does, it's like that,
still really lurchy,
like someone's hitting you in the back of the head, literally.
What a lovely experience.
Yeah.
But that Enzo, the sizing of it,
oh mate,
the lines of it, I really think hit it out of the park with that car, because most people, I mean, you could tell most people that's a modern car. Like it is aging unbelievably well,
for sure.
But as you say, it represents such a sort of peak era for me in sort of Ferrari's history. I kind of think of that as the end of the De Montezemolo era, really.
Okay.
I know it sort of dragged on a little bit, but that for me is peak De Montezemolo Ferrari. And then we've obviously moved on. We got things like 812s and SF90s and 296 GTBs and things like that. But Enzo is it's got that smell. It's got that Ferrari smell.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Primano Bubico. Primiano. Sorry, mate. Hard name to read. What's the best hot hatch to get if you're aged 18 to 22? I.e. Abarth, Audi. Audi sounds expensive.
Nice.
Hot hatch these days. I mean, it's tough at that age because it's going to come down to insurance. It's going to come down to, you're going to want something a little bit sexy that's not too expensive. Fiesta STs.
STs will still be expensive. So if you're going Fiesta, you'd probably want the little Z-Tech S thing.
Okay.
I don't think they're called Z-Tech S's now. But it's basically a 1 litre Eco Boost, and it'll be 150 horsepower or something. But I think the ST is probably still, I mean, it's a great car, the little Fiesta ST, but
a bit of money.
I think the insurance would be a few quid. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does up GTIs?
Yeah. You know what people buy as well? I've had a few lads buy these cars from me, the Golf R line. So what that is, it looks like a GTI. Aesthetically, it looks a little bit like a GTI, but it's got a little 1.5 engine in it. So the insurance is like okay, and it's got that sensor on the front like all Golfs have got. So the low speed crash sensor, which insurance companies loves, which is why Golf GTIs and Golf Rs are so popular as well, because of they don't
safety protocols.
Correct, because the insurance companies say that statistically people have low speed crashes more than high speed crashes. So the Golf stops you from doing that, basically.
We had to do something with Ford years ago. I think Paul and I did it, which was a road safety campaign, which was the same systems.
Yeah.
And we had to drive at a brick wall at like 20 miles an hour, 15, 20 miles an hour.
Paul definitely wrote a car off.
Yeah. The reason you never saw that video is Paul killed 4 people on that day. No, but you literally, that was the whole point. Was
Mary probably said.
Yeah, showcase these systems. Systems weren't on, but I felt like it was going to be like that viral video. Do you remember? Was it a Volvo? It was a Volvo, it was supposed to stop and just plowed into somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can see why the systems works. I think it's a tough one when you're in that age and you're looking for a cool, fun, slightly wacky, slightly different hot hatch or hatchback. I guess it's going to come down to more looks than performance, because anything with actual performance is going to be so expensive to run, expensive to insurance, etc. So you sort of almost want it to look the part rather than be the part. But I would always suggest at 18 or 22, if I'm really honest, just buy a good car, because you've got plenty of time in life to go on and buy the big shouty stupid stuff. If you're sitting there going, oh, but I could get an M5 V10 for $8,000.
Oh,
you know,
my God.
Do you know what I mean? Because there'll be some stuff out there which I would be that guy, like sitting there going, well, I could. Don't. If I'm honest, like we all get tempted, but actually you're better off being in a really good hatchback that looks the bomb and you can just drive at 110% everywhere and not kill yourself, than in a car that's going to cost you $4,000 a month to run and kill you on day 3.
Yeah, and it's so weird now how the goalposts have moved with these kids in general. They don't really know how lucky they are, because now they all buy new cars, mate. We'll get them on finance, and their mum or dad stand guarantor, or they, so a lot of these kids now, 21, 22-year-olds, they're able to get their own finance. When we was that age, I had like proper piles of poo.
Yeah.
like
Proper crap.
Yeah,
no, you've told me some of the crap you had. It was really a disaster.
When I was 18, early 20s, I had Subarus and stuff, but yeah, when I was 18, like real, because there was no real finance. Finance weren't really a thing then, and
it was still a sort of a bit of a not spoken about type thing, not shame, but they
save up.
Yeah. Well, me and my sister both had Golf Mark IV Golfs. I think mine was like 1,800 quid. I think hers was probably more. My sister gets spoiled.
Yeah.
But bangers, and it was a bit crappy, and I went over a pothole and the wheels exploded, and things like that. So, but that's all part of the charm and the experience thing, and you build those bonds and those connections. And if your first car's too nice, I don't know. I just feel like
nowadays kids, that's what they have. They just like the this generation's very, fair, whatever, but they're spoiled now. I don't think they know how lucky they are.
Let me flip this on ahead then. What would you get?
Molly.
Yes. I don't know if we say Molly's name on the podcast. I was like, do we say her name? What will you get Molly's her first car?
Well, it's a little bit different for me, mate, because it's my job.
Turbo S! GT3.
No, it will be a little bit different for me. If she said anything like her mum, especially when I met her mum, she would literally just have a car, and when it ran out of petrol, I'd have to give her another one. but no. To be honest, she's going to buy her own car, mate. I'm obviously going to help
with
her,
your money.
But no, I don't. It'd be a bit different for me because of my.
But you would want to get her something nice. This is the whole point, right? You're in a position to be able to buy her something maybe a little bit nicer or safer or whatever it might be. But I think because cars and finance has become more affordable, so are a lot of other parents. Okay, fine. Of course, there are still millions of people out there who can't afford to get their kids a nice car and finance or whatever it might be. But maybe in the last 15 or 20 years, finance has allowed parents to get their kids newer, safer, more usable cars, whatever that might be, rather than going down to get something for a couple of grand.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when I was a kid, I don't think my mum wanted me to drive some of the stuff that I was driving, to be honest. But it was like I bought it myself, and she couldn't afford to buy me a car. So nowadays. The world's changed and people in general are more privileged, and I think safety is a big thing. I think if you've got children and your children have saved an amount of money, and you think, you know what, they've done well, they've saved that money, but because they've saved that money, I'm going to top it up for them, and I'm going to get them a safer, newer car. And I think I would do that personally, and I think that's a way a lot of modern parents think, because they want their children to be safe, obviously.
That's the fundamentals, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's about getting a Volvo with spinning rims.
Yeah. Which is why everyone drives bloody SUVs.
Got to make it cool somehow.
Take the kids to school in an SUV in case a lorry drives into the side of you.
But you make a very good point, and I think the more and more younger people I meet, God, I sound like a real old fart now, in really nice cars, and I'm not shocked and surprised, but I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Because as I say, definitely when I was growing up, everyone was in piles of crap. Everyone was, one of my best mates growing up had a really awful Ford car.
They were an absolute death trap.
It was disgusting as well. Yeah. Really bits were hanging off it. Remember, it used to have the sort of the plastic fenders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
3 of them were missing.
Oh my God.
Disaster, that thing.
Yeah. But, but nowadays as well, like, safety is so improved, like, compared to back then, regulations would never let a manufacturer build a car like that now, so things have changed just in general. Technology, everything's caught up.
We'd like to hear below if you are youth, if you're some of our younger listeners. Comment below, let us know what is your first car, what are you hoping to get as your first car, and on the flip side, if you are a parent about to buy your child their first car, what are you considering? What are you looking at? I think it'd be interesting to see what most people are considering.
Yeah.
Toby Lowe comes in, another patron, with quite an interesting one, which we may have covered before at some point, but I just want to bring it up because I feel so sorry for him. What is the worst buying or selling decision you've ever made on a car? He says, I'm a serial fail. I bought a Countach 25th anniversary with 11,000 miles on the clock, for 55 grand in 2007.
UK guy.
Yep. Sold it 2 years later for the same money. Currently,
You've done well then.
they're worth 450 grand. So yes, he did well because 2 years later he sold it for the same money. If he'd held on to it, my good Lord, he would have made some money.
The hindsight's a wonderful thing though, isn't it?
Of course.
You know, if you held on, you can't hold on to everything you've got throughout your life. You know, some people can, but in general, you can't hold on because you're moving up a ladder, you know, like it's, you know, the property's a really good example. Like, oh, I wish I'd have had my first house and I'd have kept it because that's worth that now. And this is, but then you've moved to a bigger house and that's gone up even more. So, you know, cars are the same.
Of course, but how often, you must get this, do you meet people who go, oh, I had an F40 when they were 150 grand, look at them now. Like,
Oh, mate, I've had it myself with quite a few cars.
so go on, tell me.
The Escort Cosworth when I first met you is one.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I doubled my money on that car. I had that car 7 years, and I remember buying it, and I always wanted one as a kid, and I managed to get one. It come in part exchange, and I thought I'm going to keep that forever. And then, like, I never drove it. It wasn't very good. It was like a diesel in the way it pushed out all its power. nothing power, nothing again. And I thought I'm never going to drive it again. I'm exposed to all these modern cars. I cashed in on it and made double my money, and now they're like double again. You know, a good one with good history and good spec is probably 60 or 70 grand now.
Outrageous, isn't it?
And that's only like 4 or 5 years ago I sold that car. So, and I think I got 30 grand for it then, and I thought I'd swum the channel.
Yeah, you were ecstatic.
I was absolutely ecstatic.
I don't think I've ever been in that scenario because I'm the king of depreciation, so I can't remember
Well,
any
you
of
buy
Yeah,
crap.
I buy crap. I can't remember any of them going up in value. I think if they're all just continuing to plummet.
I've had like Peugeot 205 GTIs, if I'd have kept them, Subarus, the Renault 5 turbos, they're through the roof now. There's so many of the 90s cars that have just gone
crazy.
RS turbos. I had all of them, mate, when I was a kid. And they've all gone for, like, hindsight is a wonderful...
Who would have known? I mean, who
knew?
Who could have predicted it?
Yeah. I think for my 205 with 70-odd thousand miles on it, I think I paid 800 quid for it back
Insane,
then.
right?
What's a good one of them worth now? 15?
30 grand.
No, yeah. But I bet they're 15, mate.
Yeah,
I bet a
easily.
good one's 15.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that people are playing nuts things for
Madness.
Gen 1 Focus RSs are going absolutely insane.
But you know what that is? That is people my age that maybe didn't have them cars, or maybe they did have them, and they couldn't quite get into them for insurance or financial reasons. Maybe they're buying a house or for whatever reason, and they've gone back because now they've earned some money and they dreamt about them cars and really wanted them. And had I not done this job, I probably would have done the same, mate. But because I do this job and I'm spoiled, I've never really had the urge to go back, which is why I always, because I've sort of been there and done it. So, which is why I always like modern stuff, because there's a reason why I like modern stuff, because old stuff inherently is poo.
But also, I think we've discussed this before, where I don't particularly have a sentimental value, apart from the 360, with cars. Once I've done...
You're never going to sell.
Which I'm never going to sell.
Not even for your dream car.
No. Once I've moved on, once I'm done, I've moved on. I don't often look back. Like with the F-Type, okay, fine, I'm in another F-Type now, and that whole is all going to unfold this year. But I don't want to go back and buy the old F-Type that I had. I don't want to buy that car. I've been there and done that. You know, I don't want to buy a rear-wheel drive, original gen V8.
What about an old XKR?
No, what?
You wouldn't want one of them?
No, weird. I never owned an XKR.
No, but like...
Good car, but...
Yeah.
What about a Peugeot? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what a random... It's like me looking at you going, mate, what about
because I'm just saying you like that V8 car. The XKR is your era. So that's
Not really. XKR was a bit pre my...
2000s.
Sorry. Okay, that era, modern classic era. I'd have an XKR SGT.
Right. So what are you saying then?
150 grand.
Oh, no, they're not.
XKR SGT, 150 grand.
Unbelievable.
But this brings me on to the conversation, which is, I know it's going to frustrate all of you, but that Hassett Furlonger made this morning of like, think of what you could get for that money. When you're in the ballpark of 100 to 150 grand, it is stupid. The world is your oyster, and not always in a good way. There's things like that XKR SGT, which are 150 grand, are a joke.
Are they? That is
Mate,
a
150
joke,
grand. But total joke, 150.
That is a joke.
And then there's also 991.2 GT3s. I mean, like, you know, the breadth of car in that bracket is outrageous.
That's what I'd have. 991.
Of course you would. I mean, be more predictable.
I mean, flipping out.
Would you have a 991.2 GT3 manual or a 458 Spider?
Why have you put manual in, mate?
Because I knew
because
if I said PDK, you'd pick it straight away.
The GT3 is the better car, but I just, for me personally, I just don't get why someone buys a GT3 and then puts a manual in it because you're holding it back.
Because it's more engaging to drive on the road, Tony.
But I don't think it is.
It can be.
But
you're more in connection with the driving experience.
It's like you go outside there, you can fall down the stairs, but you wouldn't want to. You know what I mean? What are you saying?
Changing gear manually is not like falling down the stairs.
Well, some cars that I've driven, it is like falling down the stairs.
I have said it over and over again. I personally, as an individual, and I'm not alone in this, prefer manual 991.2 and 992 GT3s. I prefer them in the manual gearbox.
No, I definitely don't.
The PDKs, for me, make the car too electronic, too lacking in feeling.
Well, they're
on the road.
But they're track
on the road.
But okay, so we're going to agree to disagree. Mate, I can't answer that question.
You have to. I've asked
the 458. Okay, I'm going to go 458.
You'd have the 458.
Yeah, I've just decided I'm going to go 458. Although, yeah, I'll go 458. Flipping hell, I don't even like that car anymore either.
458 or F12.
F12. Actually, F12 for sure.
F12 or
what's going on here?
Huracan. Have I gone over 150?
No.
I'm about there.
What?
I'm about there.
Yeah, normal Huracan.
Yeah.
Yeah, F12 for sure.
F12 or
playing top trumps, aren't we?
Yeah.
Good.
But I'm just seeing where I want to see where I get you to in a really weird place. F12 Turbo S. 991.2.
Still F12.
Oh, F12 or where's the 150 grand mark?
F12.
Oh, 430 Scud.
That's not 150 grand.
You can probably find a left-hand drive car for it.
Well, then F12 still then. 'Cause we're in the UK.
You couldn't find a right-hand drive Scud?
No,
for 150?
no chance.
Really? They've gone high?
Yeah, they're 180.
No.
Even for a 20,000 mile one, yeah.
Bloody hell, you've been looking, haven't you?
Well,
God, the F12's doing well here.
Mate, it's a good car for 150, that car.
F12 or AMG GTR Pro.
Can't get one for
GTR.
AMG GTR.
There we go.
Because I think for that, even though it's crept up now, it was 100 grand and it's now 120 for a good one. That's still a brilliant car for 120. That car.
It's a very attractive car, but this is the thing. Like, I could go on. I'm not sitting here looking at Auto Trader, so I'd need a bit more inspiration. But there are so many cars to cater for so many different. I mean, Luso's probably not. FF's probably within there. I mean, I'm literally thinking of Ferraris right now. R8, V10 pluses and all that.
If you'd have asked me that against one of them, that's a good car.
That's a great car.
V10 plus. Just a bit boring, but that is a great car. That
I would struggle if. Anyway,
you are struggling.
I'm struggling. That was a bit of an exercise for me. So thank you for helping me out.
So we're at F12 then.
Basically, I'm buying an F12. Now, Paul Wallace is here on the chat over in America at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah, and he sent me last night, very interestingly, did you see this? Footage of AMG GT1. Sorry, AMG, what's it called?
Yes.
Project One.
Project One. Now,
in Monaco.
I have seen that from someone else sent it to me.
Okay. So there's some shots here of the Project One going around Monaco.
It's not a customer car though, that.
No, that's the prototype car which has been spotted all over the world.
Yes.
But is it in Monaco for Rosberg or Hamilton? Or does it just happen to be there by coincidence?
Well, Hamilton's ordered one.
Yes, and so is Rosberg.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps it's there for both of them. Perhaps it's a pre-production car. There you go, boys. Fill your boots.
I wonder if Bottas has still got one. Awkward.
Well, I mean, he's flipping it if he has. Surely.
Definitely is. He's flipped everything
I
else.
wonder if that's in his contract. Yeah, you can have one, but if you leave, then you can't have one.
It was in Button and Hamilton's contracts for the P1 because Hamilton took delivery of his P1 after he'd left McLaren.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been for Hamilton to go and have a little snoop around or something, or because it's too coincidental for that car in its final sort of testing capabilities to then be where two of the most famous and involved Formula One. They both, Hamilton and Rosberg, seriously involved in that project.
Were they?
Yeah, because it's based on a 2015 engine or car.
Yeah.
And Rosberg continued to be involved with that right up into his
first of the hybrid
demise.
era. Was that first of that hybrid era?
That was 2014, so second year, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so interesting to see. I think a lot of people are going, oh, it's the first customer. I'm certain it's not the first customer car.
I don't think it's a customer car.
But at least it's out and about and doing stuff. And
it's about time, mate.
bloody hell, tell me about it.
But what about the Valkyrie?
It's customer deliveries, isn't it?
What's happened to that? It's all gone quiet again.
If your Valkyrie's been delivered, please get in touch.
That's not been delivered, is it? No.
They're still on a factory line somewhere. Anyway, well, look, a short episode this week. There's not a lot going on, as we know, at the moment in the world of cars. It's always quiet in January, and especially here in the UK. So whilst we wait for things to build back up, obviously car news will be a little bit dry. The only thing we didn't touch on, which I sort of didn't bring it up because I don't think there's much to say, is the Yaris GR that got launched.
More hardcore two-seater thing.
Am I right in saying that's not coming to the UK?
I mean, I didn't read that, but I just saw the clip of it being unveiled. But I don't know too much about it. I didn't really pay too much attention. I just saw the car.
It's the version of the Yaris that I always thought the GR Yaris was going to be.
500 they're making, is that right?
Yeah, the MN is the masters of the nice.
No idea.
It's they did one years ago. I'm now losing my mind today, but anyway. It's their ultimate brand. So that's the AMG GTR Pro or the Black Series. It's the GRMN. So
is that it then after that?
Supposedly. Two-seater, roll cage, more aero, more hardcore.
No more GR Yaris. That's it?
I think so.
Right.
What do you mean? You think there's going to be something GRMN Plus or GRMN S?
No idea, mate. I'm asking.
No, this is the ultimate version, supposedly. The most hardcore, focused version.
Gone?
No, I don't think they're stopping. I just think they're just unveiling a more hardcore variant.
So, but they're only going to make 500, but they're going to still keep making the normal car.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
It's like a Black Series.
But they stopped making
an AMG. You can get a C63, then the Black Series, and then done.
No, so it's the Black Series is the last of the AMG GT run.
Let's Google it because people are going to yell at us for not doing research.
Yeah, that's normally what happens. It's like a when a GT3 or GT3 RS comes out, it's the last of that run. Okay, then there's a new car.
So hardcore two-seat Japanese market creation. So it's only Japanese market.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it happens a lot though. But obviously, maybe try and import some. Hatchback, fully tuned model of the GR Yaris that's gone through rigorous refinement with professional drivers.
Horsepower?
It's going to be £46,000 equivalent. It's got a stiffer body, 20 kilo lighter, 10 mil increase width, and a 10 mil drop in ride height. 0 to 60 time of 5.5 seconds.
Yep.
1.6 litre turbo 3-pot engine, which has been slightly more powerful in Japan, is unmodified, still giving the 268 horsepower. So it's lighter, stiffer, same power.
That's a con.
What do you mean it's a con? If that's a con, there's every manufacturer in the world that's a con.
But you're right. So just got wide.
It's a pista, basically.
Well, it's not. But yeah, I know what you mean. Why actually? Because this is a bit short. This episode.
Go on.
We're just briefly going to talk about that 720S that I've just had. So
in the last year or so, you've gone from slagging off two brands to becoming a certified dealer. Go on.
Well, I ain't started yet. Okay. So I picked it up today.
720S Spider.
720S Spider. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to drive it. I've driven it an hour back, 60 or 70 miles. I thought I'm not going to shut my eyes, like, literally. But I'm going to shut my eyes and I'm going to really try. Because it's been a while since I drove 720S. I drove them when they first come out. And it's been probably 2 years since I've driven one again, right? And I'm driving down the road. It's working, by the way. I mean, it got me home. There's no lights come on. It was perfect, which is amazing. And it's undeniably still stupidly fast, right? But everything is really fast nowadays. Everything is really... We've had this conversation before, but I'm thinking in my head, right, so you got Hurricane, you got Turbo S, you've got a Ferrari, and anything else you can think of. They're all really fast. Why would you buy the McLaren? I was really thinking, why are you going to buy the McLaren? Because a lot of people buy McLarens because they're just really, really fast, and that's what they are. And they do drive nice. That they're still really comfortable because of the suspension. I don't like the brakes on McLaren.
No. Explain why, because if you haven't driven a McLaren, it's hard to understand.
So they've got really long pedal. So there's nothing brake.
Yeah.
And I hate that in a car. And when you're in a really fast car, the main confidence you want in a fast car are the brakes more than anything. Because you want to stop the bloody thing, and especially a fast car as well. And with Ferraris and Porsche are the best at it, and it's one of the reasons why it's my favourite brand. You want to stamp on a brake and you want it instant. You never get that with any McLaren.
It
right?
feels like a very spongy pedal, as you say. Like you go to hit the brakes, and it's especially in the front of your mind when you jump in from another car, even just a standard road car, and you get into McLaren, you're like, oh my god, like rolling up to a roundabout or traffic lights, so you're suddenly like, oh my god, and then as you say, when you finally hit that sort of biting point of the brakes, and then it really slams them on, so it takes a while to get used to. It's unnerving.
And as well, like I'm driving it back and I'm finding myself comparing it to my personal car, right? And in all intents and purposes, it should be definitely as quick, but the engine's a bit lazy in it. It doesn't sprawl up quite as quick as a Ferrari or a Porsche GT2, for instance, if you're comparing them that power.
Or Huracan Performante.
But it's NA. I'm thinking of turbo.
Just trying to throw people off from what your car might be. But can I just say, sorry, can I just jump in there
of course.
for a comparison? Because actually, you're comparing it to the wrong cars there. A 720S should be compared to a 488 GTB or an F8 Tributo, a 488 more realistically, and a Turbo S, not a GT2. Because if you're comparing against the hardcore lightweight track focus, you've got to look at the LT. The 720S is still theoretically the entry-level road car, which did come out 2 or 3 years before the equivalents you just mentioned.
And this is exactly what I'm getting at. It's so weird that when that 720S come out, it was game-changing, and literally you get out of it and you go, wow, how fast it is. And it is still really stupidly fast. But now when you get in one now, 2 years later, all you come out is go, yeah, it's fast, but there's nothing really else to it. Like, because things move on so quickly. Like I know that what you're saying about you can't compare it to a GT2, but in terms of power and stuff, you can, because the 720S is miles faster. Miles, I'm being stupid, but it is faster than a 488, a normal one, and it is faster than a normal Huracan because it's got another 70 or 80 horsepower. It's a bit lighter, and it's got a more torque as well. But that still doesn't mean it hasn't got a lazy engine. I just feel unless you're in the right gear in a McLaren, the engine, the power low down in it, like nothing really happens until you get to like probably 5,000 revs, and then it really like wakes up. Whereas if you're in a Ferrari, even a normal 488 or a GT2. Not really a Turbo S, but a GT2. It's like any gear, any time. It behaves like an NA car, and the reason why I compare them is because they're similar powers. I know what you're saying. It's the road version, and I shouldn't really compare it to the sharper track version. But if you're going in a straight line and you're comparing just power, that's what I had in my head.
You're so right though, because McLarens, I think, famously almost feel like old school. They have old school turbo lag. Like almost any McLaren you drive, it just takes a while. Then suddenly you get this absolute insane boost. It's not to say they're slow until the turbo kicks in, like old 80s turbo lag was nothing, everything. McLarens are very quick, but then they just go onto this upper echelon.
Yeah, they do.
And in the early days, that was so like ballistically and mad. But as everything else has caught up and then maybe even moved forward, you're right, where it's a lot better at being more linear, more dialed in, feeling more like an NA car. I would quickly just jump in and say that the 765 LT is ridiculous because it doesn't have that. It's that insane 5,000 RPM plus, but from 0 RPM.
I've not driven a 765.
It's terrifying. But what I would combat your argument with is that as everything is caught up in terms of speed, I think that's done the 720S a favour, because initially, well, at least from my mind, it was like, okay, this car's really quick, but it's too boring. Like you don't get that sense of occasion. It's kind of it's trying to do too many things. I've always said that about 720S. It's trying to cover too many bases. And when it first came out, everything else was a bit more of a blunt instrument. Now things like the FA and things like the 992 generation of Porsche have all done that same mold of being great in every area and as quick.
Right.
So the McLaren you get in, you go, okay, like all the others now, this is a car that covers so many bases. And actually, at covering many bases, I think it's one of the best because it's supercar looks, supercar feel, unbelievably practical, very spacious, insanely light cabin with great visibility. An insane badge, that McLaren badge puts you one up, I think, over a turbo Porsche. Okay, Ferrari, of course, not, but some equivalent, some other random, Bentley Continental GT, for example.
Not Lambo, though, surely.
Yeah, maybe not
Or
Lambo, but
no, I don't think so.
hard but I think Lambo gets nowhere close to a 720S with a Huracan or an Aventador in terms of practicality, usability, space, all of that stuff.
No,
so
you're right.
So the McLaren starts to actually win at all the things that aren't about its performance. So, as I say, I think over time, it's become a better car because it's not just about that insane straight line speed.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question now. I'm going to pick 3 cars, and these are all the same value, right? So 720S Spider, this is a 2019 car. 488 Spider, 2019 car. Or Hurricane Spider.
488 Spider.
Me too.
I don't need but that's me.
But there's one thing that I will say about the McLaren. Practicality, I think they're similar, the boots and stuff and what you can see out of. Maybe the McLaren a little bit better in terms of vision. The only thing about the McLaren, you sit a bit lower than you do in a Ferrari. So the wing mirror's sort of a little bit not in your eye line, whereas a Ferrari is kind of there. Whereas it's there in a McLaren. The only thing I'd say about the McLaren is that it does feel a little bit modern inside to a 488, for sure, because a 488 is basically a facelifted 458, which is 10 years old. So they take the mickey a little bit. But I would have the Ferrari as well.
Yeah.
If I had to pick out of the 3, I would have the Ferrari as well.
But I think, I remember I had that 720S Spider for a week this time last year, actually, as a kind of like trying to come back round to McLaren. It's quite interesting that you're in the same situation, but just because of stock, not because of McLaren's press team.
And this is me, total unbiased, not what I think about the brand. This is me as trying as a consumer looking at the brands, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think, if that car continues to have 0 problems and it sells and whatever it might be,
perfectly fine.
You're going to go, okay, I kind of actually, that makes a bit more sense to me. And I think, weirdly, all of their problems and all of the other manufacturers sort of coming round to the way that McLaren have been doing things with releasing cars. I mean, Ferrari releasing cars every 3 weeks, or
McLaren
Porsche
have stopped that though a little bit now.
McLaren, that's what I mean. Like, so the world has changed, and in the last 3 to 5 years, actually, McLarens are starting to go, now what's happened to the Artura? Where's that gone? Because that's a bit strange, isn't it?
I've heard some stories
I've
about
heard
that.
many stories.
Have you?
Yeah,
we can't
nowhere
say.
to be seen.
No.
And again, as you say, from a company that were bashing out cars left, right and centre, we're now hearing about, you hear about financial struggles, you hear about, missing Arturas, selling their heritage
factory.
fleet, selling their factory. So, it's not a lot of great news, but actually it's strengthened something like a 720S.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you go, actually, this is all starting to look a little bit more appealing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah. And that car has lost best part of 100,000 quid It's only done 3,000 miles, which isn't that.
What are you putting it up at, or have you decided?
189,950 done 3,000 miles.
What's a coupe? What's a coupe?
The last time I looked at a coupe, they were like 140, 150, but I bet they're probably a bit more now because of the market. But they have lost a few quid probably, but that car would have been 270 new, so the equivalent Ferrari, I don't. It would have to be monster spec to be at 270 a 488 Spider as a new car, and I think that's probably. Listen, on paper, the McLaren is definitely a better car than the 488, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to buy it because it's all about brand value. And if I'm not got my blinkers on and I'm really trying to think outside the box, and because we're the same, we'd always pick the Ferrari for our love of Ferrari. But if you're just a customer coming in, why are you going to buy the McLaren and not the Ferrari? What are the actual reasons why? Because speed doesn't really come into it anymore, because it used to come into it. Is, oh my God, the McLaren's miles faster than anything else, so you've got to have the McLaren. But it doesn't. That's not a factor anymore, because everything else. This is what I'm trying to say. Everything else is so fast now that why are you going to buy a McLaren? What are the actual reasons why you're going to buy them? And I don't know.
And on that note,
going now.
Anyway, so as I say, thank you so much for the patrons who submitted their video messages and notes for this podcast. As I say, it is that quiet time of year, but we appreciate all the support. We got a couple of interesting episodes coming up, despite the fact there's not a huge amount going on. So subscribe now, turn on notifications so you don't miss those future episodes. If you're listening, keep listening on whatever platform you're listening on. If you want to support us on Patreon, head to patreon.com/behind the glass. If you want to follow Tony and see what interesting cars he's getting into stock at the minute, because I say there, Aston Martins, there's McLarens. Who knows what's next? Maybe a Maserati. You can follow him at Tony Gravel with Car Sales on most social media platforms, and I'm at Seen Through Glass on most social media platforms. We'll be back with you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.